Now entering Nerdist.com.
Jackie Cation, Laurie Kilmartin. Jackie Cation, Laurie Kilmartin. It's the Jackie and Laurie Show. The Jackie and Laurie Show. It's the Jackie and Laurie Show. The Jackie and Laurie Show.
What a horrible wife you are. I'm so glad I'm not married to you.
I am the best wife. I am an excellent wife. Oh my God, I'll tell you later about something I did this week.
You're in a dark padded room on your husband's birthday.
It is my husband's birthday, and on our anniversary, I'm going to be doing something very important regarding the Jackie and Laurie Show here in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
But it is on our anniversary.
Yeah.
And but that's fine. He loves a convention as much as anyone.
That's
so.
true. Oh my God. We broke our cardinal rule and we had a slight conversation before the podcast.
Which is fine. I mean, the thing is...
I'm against it.
Yeah, I know you are.
I don't even want you making eye contact with me until Kyle points and says,
I don't want to be friends, as she says as she runs out the door.
Is Jackie in there? Get me out of here.
I'm Jackie Cation, by the way.
I'm Laurie Kilmartin.
And we have socially arrived at Nerd Melt.
Oh, I'm so stressed. It's 11 in the morning on a Sunday as I was leaving the house today because I'm going to take my son to the LAX protest today. I'm going to pick him up
Andy
at his
and I are
dad's
going.
house.
I'm going to go pick him up, and then we're going back.
Cool.
We're going to go stare at people and say, guess what isn't the problem?
Hey ho. I don't know. I'll figure out
these
a hey ho to
100
shout.
of Muslims who are trying to get into the country are not the problem.
The whole okay. Yeah. But my mom and I got in a huge fight because as we were leaving,
so
she
sorry.
said, don't let my grandson get hurt by paid protesters. And then I was
thinks
unleashed.
that they're paid protesters.
Then I was unleashed.
That is unleashed.
Yeah.
That's clearly... That's the talking point. Oh,
Yes.
they're not
Yeah.
real people. They're paid protesters.
And she when I say no, they're not. George Soros isn't paying anyone. She actually puts her hands in front of her face to block content coming from my mouth. It's astonishing.
You know what it is, though? It is a glimpse into what people are hearing,
Right?
And what the insanity. You're like, oh, you were told that they're paid protesters.
Yeah.
This isn't 1.6 million people actually going, no, this is bullshit.
The other thing is, I'm reading all these tweets about if you vote for Trump, fuck you forever. It's like, I get that feeling, but
I understand it. It's not helpful.
Some Trump people are actually egging this on and loving it. And a lot of them really don't know what's happening because the news that they listen to isn't telling them.
Yeah.
So they what they believe are that, Bill Clinton was a rapist and he was going to, they believe all these crazy, I mean, he was a rapist. So that's not a crazy thing to believe. But the things they believe are, when you hear them, you're like, oh, if I thought that was true, I guess I would be like that. Mm-hmm. But it's what makes you angry is the decision not to seek other news media or other sources. And my mom...
Right, you need a second source on this.
At least.
She
literally she asked me a question about Obama and why he released drug king cartel. Some guys from prison. 5 Mexican drug cartel kingpins he commuted their sentences. So then I have to look up, all right, what is she misreading? And I couldn't find anything even close to it besides him releasing hundreds of prisoners. And then you read this whole, there's a Washington Post had a really good article on the lengths they go to verifying and vetting each person they're releasing. They read 16,000 stories.
Right, and there were maybe 3 of 100 people.
Yeah, I mean,
were 80 of them of people of color?
Going through the eye of a needle, right?
Yeah.
And and I see no drug king part. And then she goes, "Oh, I said, where'd you read that?" And then it comes out later. She read it in the Onion. She goes, "Onion."
That's right. You said that. Oh, that's right.
And then I was like,
you were stunned.
I can't have a reasonable conversation with my mom. I'm so full of rage. And this morning I just started screaming at her, you know, and
she needs to check other sources.
She won't. And me yelling at her makes her just hole up even more. Yeah. And there's no solution to it because I can't stop. I just want to stab her in the eyes because she stabbed me with her useless vote. She's voting in California, so she could have written in somebody just out of courtesy. to me. She could have written in Mitt Romney or anybody, but
Yeah.
she decided to go a full fuck you.
A full fuck you.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, well, and here's my thing I tweeted the other day, I think it was yesterday, I was like, I am willing to hug any Trump voter who is willing to stand up to this anti-American traitor and his cadre of evildoers. He is genuinely surrounded by cartoonishly evil people
Yep.
that are just egging him on to his worst, and I don't understand why. I mean, the impeachment process is obviously long and torturous and will just create more and more troubles. I don't understand why they don't just walk in and arrest him. I really, the things he's doing seem so illegal, and there's no precedent, so
Yeah.
I understand that it's impossible.
I mean, up until the Muslim ban, they were things that he either could kind of do, or it's people are like, how are you going to, like the border wall? Okay, you can say we're going to build it, but now you got to get Congress to fund it, and so there's like hoops you still have to go through.
Right, the
But
executive
this
orders.
this executive order they wouldn't let people with green cards,
Yeah.
that are visiting their family in
And completely-
countries
and have all
that
the-
don't have
if-
Trump properties in them.
Right,
It's just
exactly.
like on 10 levels, it's astonishing.
Right, Saudi Arabia and the
illegal.
Emirates?
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost all the hijackers came from Saudi Arabia,
Yes.
and we're cool with that.
We're cool with that.
Because he does business in Saudi Arabia.
He does. So Saudi Arabia is not blocked at all, and those guys are Muslim.
But my mom, if I were to tell that to my mom, her hands would go in front of her face.
right, you should just leave her notes under the door. Here's a
Fake news.
additional source. Additional source. Anyway, speaking of
cares?
comedy,
It's a comedy podcast.
and is what's her face from SNL?
oh my God, Katie Rich.
Yeah, wasn't that big of a deal? Was it? What wasn't you? Didn't you tell me that? What? All I remember is listening to the joke and going, "That's an okay joke. That's not that."
Yeah.
It's it's not like she called him retarded.
No.
in like a very. No, because all the headlines said it's not okay to call Barron Trump retarded.
Well,
and I was like, first of all, is his name Barron?
Yeah, there's
His
so
name is
many things to unpack. Yeah.
and he's got mousse in his hair.
Yeah.
I don't. There's
Well,
no product in a
it's like-
10-year-old's hair.
No. There's all in my encounters with a
10-year-old.
10-year-old, the only thing in their hair is lice. So she, it was a funny line. Now,
And it was a joke
it
against
was
his
a joke
parents,
about
right?
the parents, him being a homeschool shooter.
Oh, that's right. The homeschool
Yeah.
shooter joke.
It's about
It's
what
about
we all hope would come true. But unfortunately, that's a
world
thing you
went
say.
nuts.
Don't tweet in this world.
yeah.
And
And you don't say it like I just did on a thing being recorded.
But the thing is again, like when a comic makes it, it's the swarm that decide, and it seems to happen a lot more to female comics and female comedy writers than it
Yeah.
does to the guys. You
It
know,
di- it didn't happen to Ari Shafir.
What
like
did
that Ari Shafir thing where he does the joke on his special
Yeah.
about that woman who granted looked very irritating from
Yeah.
the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
She doesn't have an arm.
right?
And
oh
he,
yeah,
he made some crack about, and he named her.
Oh, that's right.
And he never got any guff for that.
Right.
And so, but
He got
but,
a little guff.
Yeah, but not this. No, nobody took his special off the air.
Right,
Nobody
right.
stopped him getting a paycheck.
But I just mean even like Trump jokes. It seems like, when a woman makes one or a woman steps over, like with Jen Kirkman or something, all of a sudden it's just,
The world goes mad.
and it's
more so
rape-
with women. It's true.
rape threats, and it's coming after someone who you think is more vulnerable, and it's disgusting.
It's 'cause they're bullies.
And so now,
Because they're like, I think I can push around a woman. I can't push around a dude.
But the thing that happens too is now she's a writer, and when you Google her name, that shit's going to come up. It's probably going to be the first 5 or 10 links that comes
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
because she's really young.
Yep.
So this might be early in her career. At least
Right.
if it was me, it would come up side by side with me making fun of my father dying. Give me a little context.
Exactly. Yeah, that is weird.
And it does. I had another point about it. I lost it.
Well,
Maybe I'll get it back. That's how my brain works now.
and then I told you that I was talking to a comic that we both know who's a very successful actor. but you may not remember because it was a week and a half ago, and I chose not to save it. So we did a show.
Oh yeah, I ran into you in the green room here. I'm like, motherfucker! We just did a podcast. Come on, Jackie.
I started telling a story, and Marcella actually said, "Save it for the podcast." Which, but I did a set at Flaps, and I call it Flaps because fuck you people.
Why shouldn't you?
Exactly. And so I'm doing, and this actor who's a comic and a good comic, we're talking, and I said I just recorded my album and I was trying to get it out, and he goes, "Why are you doing sets if you just did a new album?"
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And I was
like you should
'cause I'm
take a couple
comic.
of weeks
yeah,
off.
have a break. Take yourself out to lunch. And I was like, well, because now I don't have to do any of those jokes if I don't want to.
You know, that suggestion sounded both wrong and right. Take some time off. Let your brain stop
sane?
trying to form things into jokes for a second. Just let
There
it
you go.
relax.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is you miss being on stage.
Right. I miss being on stage, and I miss, I have 2 new premises that are desperately need to be hashed the hell out.
I sent you ideas.
I know you. Oh, that's right. Because we did several sets this
we
week
did.
together. We did.
But I got a chance to watch your genocide bit.
That's
which
right.
I think I'd seen kind of in passing when I was writing notes for my own set, so I wasn't really paying attention. But this time I was
the meltdown when you were in the corner and you were in the green room and you said that's the genocide bit had that you were like, that sounds like a great bit, is what something like that.
Yeah.
And then you saw it at the Improv.
because I had already gone up, so I was like free and clear, and I was just watching you.
Oh, right,
like a
because
hawk.
you weren't.
Yeah,
and then I got 2 notes. One
it was just
from,
rearranging things. That's it.
No, I know. I couldn't tell if you wanted me to pull one of those stories out.
No, I wanted you to rearrange. I
You
thought
wanted me to open with as a church joke.
the first. Well, first of all, the first joke you said, "Hey, we're
The priest.
we're the bad guys." The other joke that's separate from it.
Oh, the World War III joke.
Yes, you
you
said-
said say United States. Don't just say
What's
we.
the line you say?
The line I say is who would have thought that we were the bad guys in World War III?
Right. Okay. So the joke you told before it got such a big laugh that line got a little bit lost. And
I see.
And my only point was, I think if you said America instead of we, or almost repeated it that America is the bad guy, say it like that.
Okay.
People will hear it better
It'll
because
hit
they're
better.
still sort of
Laughing
coming off
from
the last joke. And I forgot what that
It's a big
joke was.
problem in my life. Is that just one
It's a
joke
great
does
problem to have.
It's
It is.
It's a great problem.
You
I'm just
just-
doing too well, and then the next joke comes in. It's also a great joke,
And then
but it just doesn't do quite as well because they're so much enjoying the
Yes.
What? Yes.
And then the other
Thank
the genocide thing, I thought that because you kind of were.
I tried it like you suggested it, by
What'd
the
you-
way,
how'd
on
it work?
Thursday. Yeah, it's a better way to get into it. It's a better way to get into it.
Yay! Because I thought when you just start talking about the genocide, I think people are like, "What?"
And well, they ought to be.
and I think when you started to say, I told my grandmother I didn't want to go to church, or however
Yes.
the declarative sentence. They
Yeah.
know it's rooted in a story about your grandmother,
Yes.
so they know it's a tangent that you're going to get off, and I think
Yes.
then they can relax a little bit and listen to the jokes about it because they know you're coming back to grandma.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And I do, and that's the good news, and that's the bad news about the album, is that it's already recorded, and so just listen to what you get, what you can, and
know
come see
what?
me live,
Here's
folks.
but don't stop working on it. You can release an extended version that
Sure,
super
there's-
fans will know about. I mean,
Exactly.
fucking musicians do it all the time,
That's
right?
true,
They
the EP.
remix their shit.
Yeah.
Because it is heartbreaking to put it down on vinyl and then come up with a tag that takes
even
it to
better.
the next level.
Yeah, which is what this does.
But
and it
I
does
think
work.
there's so
It's
much
great.
more there too. And
Thanks.
I
Yeah.
think that line that you do in the middle that your grandma says.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a fucking closer.
yeah.
Because it goes along with all of your material, even though it's not a joke.
Yeah.
And the thing you say after it's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, good night. I'll be at the merch table.
I don't know that I can close on it.
I don't know that you can either.
Yeah,
but, it's
but that's
something
an interesting
to try.
idea. Yeah,
I think try
yeah.
it.
It's
Try it on a crowd you don't like.
Where am I going to find those people? And I will say this: the other thing that's on the album that is weird is I use the word snowflake in my Terrigen Mist joke.
Yeah.
And I see the audience kind of jerk now.
Oh, that's right.
Because the word snowflake has been vilified by somebody.
Considered a pejorative against.
Right. Who knew that a beautiful snowflake was a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was for a while on mom message boards. There's one called Urban Baby, and there's another one called You Be Mom. Mm-hmm. And Snowflake is somebody who's overprotective of their child and thinks their child is the best, and goes into the teacher and all that kind of stuff. So to have it turned into this larger thing is it's too bad.
Yeah. Whatever.
All right.
I've had 2 of my brothers and 3 male comics in the last 2 weeks try to reassure me by saying, jokingly, go, hey, you must be psyched about Trump right now. And
Male comics saying that too?
yeah, here's the thing. My brothers, fine. Mm-hmm. They're not comics.
Right.
Male comics, keep writing, gentlemen. And because it's not a game. It's not a game, you dimwit. And
It's alarming. We don't know what's happening in the White House. It feels
Right.
like it's been taken over by a Nazi, a supremacist.
Mm-hmm.
Bannon. They kicked out. He's the director of intelligence. Which is,
NSA?
all these that starts to get confusing. They kicked out the Joint Chiefs. I don't know what that means, but I know that some representatives who was on the House Armed Services Committees said basically, "What the fuck."
Yeah. I mean, the good news is that old straight white guys are getting angry. And you're like, oh, good. Could you use
hope
your
so.
powers for good? That'd be
Seriously.
awesome.
But it's and so that's it's weird. Like I was at the Comedy Store last night, and Eliza Schlesinger is talking about this stuff too, and she's sort of
I know, she's doing a political ranty stuff.
using it as a way to talk about stuff she doesn't like. But it's kind of like tying current events to things she doesn't like, which is a smart way to go
This is
about
the
talking
favorite
about what
chunk
you
of-
want to talk
Right,
about.
this is the best chunk I've ever seen from her, in
Yeah.
my opinion. It's my favorite thing she's
Yeah.
ever done.
So
Because she worked with us the other night as well.
yeah. The third time we were together. Oh my God.
That was a great night, though. But what
Yeah.
did she do last night?
Well, it's the same thing, but we were kind of just talking, and then there's a couple other female comics in the green room at the same time. We were on Tammy's show. Tammy puts on a lot of female comics.
Right.
It's pretty sweet. Anyway, about just, I'm not an on-the-nose political comic, I feel like I talk you could probably
it's
guess
socio-political.
You can guess all of my positions by the end of my act, I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm
and
probably not
always.
against immigrants since my son is half Hispanic, and I'm
Right.
probably not against abortion because half of my act is fantasizing about my life had I aborted him. So you can guess, but it's a and. Every Trump joke gets done immediately on Twitter, or
Yeah.
by the time all of the late night shows,
Yeah.
we're just handicapped completely as late
it's just
night.
regular
it's like
comics?
on Twitter. That was on Twitter. No, it's coming
late
up for
night.
monologue jokes for
Oh, right. It's been
that are
covered,
going
it's
to
been
air
covered.
7 hours later that night. It's
Yes.
like no, that's tread.
Right, it's already a
Done,
hashtag.
done. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so that's a different tough problem, but but just as a stand-up to really work to develop a chunk about Trump that's unique,
Right.
that's tough.
That is tough. It's
And yet you're just enraged,
right,
Like
and it's the only thing you can think about
yeah,
writing about.
yeah.
Because you don't know how to deal. Because that's how I process shit, is by writing jokes about it.
Yes,
and
and
so it's the only way to get any relief in my
Right,
life.
and the anger I like processing is about my place in the world, which is very unique to me. But
Right.
it's a different anger when we're shocked
Ignored.
about the
And-
same thing, and
Yeah.
and we're all getting up on stage that night where they weren't letting people off planes,
Yeah.
because they were from Iran.
right. Is this tomorrow, by the way, Kyle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a strange time, and then it takes time to make a joke funny if it's coming from pure rage.
Yes.
And I don't want to go up and just rant,
Right. Right. Because that's
I'm not a ranter.
Yeah, ranting is
I
hard.
saved that for this podcast.
But I would like to celebrate the gathering of like-minded individuals at the because it was me and you and it was Christina Walkinshaw's
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
show.
Yeah. Mhm.
So April Macy,
Oh, that was so fun. Yeah.
who spent her entire set just busting my balls.
Yeah.
And she was just like, Jackie wants me to do family stuff. I got this other new dick joke I need to work on.
Are you sending her notes?
It's I just sat in the second row going, no, I like the, she
Yeah.
has this great new dick joke.
Yeah.
It is a great new dick joke.
Yeah.
But I do like her family stories because her family is nuts.
Yeah.
And she told me she had a new, 10, 12, because I haven't seen her long set
Yeah.
in probably 2 years. We did that run over in Kuwait and Oman and
Right,
Africa.
yeah.
And so I saw her long set then, but it was probably 4 years ago, right? So she's got a whole new set of dick jokes. And I made the mistake before she went on stage. She said, well, I have a bunch of new family stuff. I'm sure you'd be psyched to hear it. And I was like, oh, yeah, that'd be great. And she's like, I also have a bunch of new dick jokes that are great. And I was like, okay. She said, I know I hate my dick jokes. And I said, well, you still doing that dust in your balls joke? And she beat the shit out of me from the stage. Oh, here's another one Jackie's not going to like. Here's another one. And it made me laugh so hard. But she's got a new joke about the difference between the vagina, the whole neighborhood thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a great
Yes.
that was a
Yeah, I
great
like
bit.
that a lot. That was
and
really great.
How guys sit and women sit and
Yeah.
it's great stuff.
Yep.
Those are great dick jokes. I am pro those great. It reminds me, Bamford was on stage one time at Flappers
Yeah.
that I opened for. I think she was a headline weekend. And she gets on stage and she's clearly working on something new because I hadn't heard it. And she was talking about how she sometimes has gatherings over at her house and she orders pizza. And one of her friends is always like, this isn't good pizza. And she said, and there was a pause, and she goes, that's Jackie Cation. She told me she didn't like the pizza that I bought for everyone. And I was like, and I almost went on stage and just said, you only eat the top of the pizza, and you had 2 bites. And she's like, well, everyone eats it. And I'm like, it's free pizza. Nobody's not going to eat it. I'm just saying if you're going to order pizza, just get...
Comedy one day might be so specific. We're just taking our individual beefs with our friends on stage and expecting the
Yes.
audience to know about them.
Which was the mocking of the alt comedy movement in the late 90s.
Yes.
Remember that?
I like
that's
Todd Berry
hilarious.
used to have this bit. I'm going to do a whole chunk now about my building. What about Mrs. Johnson in part 6B, right? Much better than that, but it was so.
Oh my God.
Just, very funny.
Exactly. I think I heard Patton Oswalt at Largo probably in '99. I told this story, whatever. But it's the guy. He followed a guy who was just kind of a road guy.
Yeah.
But it was interesting and funny. But it was at Largo in 1999. So the fucking pile of haircuts that are watching him
Oh, yeah.
are super judgmental. And so Patton gets up and he's like, yeah, I'm so sorry that guy had written jokes for you guys. That's so horrible that someone would have written jokes and then tried to tell you to them, to tell you guys those jokes. He said it's so much better when some alt guy goes on the road and says, hey, I'm talking about Larry, you guys, or whatever it was. And it's obviously better than that as well.
I do think the comedy audience appreciates jokes as well as stories now.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, they're back to liking
you can
jokes
have
too.
people go back. You can have a Kyle Kinane and a Brian Kiley go back to back and they would both kill. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's and what's interesting to me is a comic who can do both, like Aparna. She
Yeah.
does one-liners and stories.
Yeah.
which is neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do any
I
one-liners.
just I've one new joke and then a half a new joke. And that's it. You know, and the one that you heard at the church steps joke.
Yeah.
You liked it.
Oh my God, such a great joke.
Yeah. Well,
I was
how
like-
come can I have 50 more, please?
Well,
Why
yes.
why do I just have that one?
I know.
God damn it. It takes up 20 seconds. It doesn't
Right,
come on, man.
right. I'm gonna
Fuck.
need 45 minutes more of that.
Yes.
I know, but it's such a good joke. That joke is great, and I think there's more to it. You know?
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, you could
That's
go
the
off.
half or the other ones they're sort of mirroring that, but
Yeah.
and the other thing I did was I took I'm taking this joke that has this chunk that has the word pussy in it. I'm trying to de-pussy it so it's like cleaner because I think the sentiment behind it is funny enough where I don't need pussy in it.
Yeah.
And one thing
Weirdly enough, I'm adding the word pussy.
you can have mine. You can have my pussy.
Excellent, fantastic. Are you not using it?
Yes.
The worst.
But I was doing this thing where I would do the end of the joke, and I would say, and isn't that what every mom wants for her son?
Yeah.
And it was sort of like this wry commentary, and
Yeah.
it's sort of like the joke would come cruising to a stop. The laugh would come cruising to an end. Yeah. And then I changed it to, trust me, that's what every mom wants for her son.
Yes.
Which has more energy to it.
Yep.
And then there's room for tags after that.
Yeah.
And it's weird how just changing just the tone of a line, even though it's almost the same exact words,
Right,
can
but
change the energy of the end of a joke.
Yeah.
You know, and give you a place to add more stuff to it.
Yeah, instead of just sort of petering out. And,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah.
I just feel like I'm trying to tweak things that they still feel like too open, but then I maybe I'm so stuck in the rhythm that I've created in a joke, I can't like turn it over and look at it in a new way, because I have it in my head a certain way, even though I know it doesn't feel 100% done.
Well, you know what you did to the genocide bit? Have you tried that? Which is where you just try to turn it backwards. Like open with the punchline and see what, not on stage or on stage in front of people you don't like. And then just see what new punchlines and what new directions it comes from.
Yeah.
Because that might be cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But who knows?
I've been trying to fiddle around with it a little bit, you
Yeah.
know, but I don't want to name the joke, just because then I feel like I'm calling attention to it. If I'm on stage going, oh, this, you know, if people listen to the podcast are now hearing me, it's too much of me being aware of of the audience, what the audience might be
Brian
thinking.
Cook went up at, I did my set at the Virgil. That's where I
Yeah.
tried the new order that you
Oh,
gave me the
cool.
notes on.
Yeah.
And Brian Cook's Big Money show on Thursday at the Virgil. There it is.
Yeah.
And but Brian gets up after my set to close the show because I went last, and he said, "I have been wanting to hear the genocide bit." And I was like, well, I'm glad it worked then. And so, because he said, she's been saying it hasn't been working, and that really worked. It got a bunch of applause. And I was like, okay, good. Well, I'm glad I get that then. So I went to Orlando
Oh, yeah.
for the Orlando Indie Comedy Fest.
Yeah.
Which was fantastic.
How fun.
I was only there for like a day and a half. And
So what was the hotel like?
oh, it was nice. It was just it was a Hilton.
Yeah.
And
I just remembered another thing we have to talk about.
oh, good.
Yeah.
And the hotel was nice.
Oh, was that a Maria directive, or did they just
No.
put you up in the Hilton?
Yeah, they just put, and the guy who booked it had his points. I hate to turn into Marilyn Bamford in front of you, but there was no way for me to get those Hilton points out of that guy.
Oh,
So
damn.
I just lived the life.
Well, don't do that festival again.
Well, it was such a good festival. It
Really?
had so many. It was the kind of festival that sort of Bridgetown is.
Yeah.
In the way that it was comic run.
Yeah.
So no industry anywhere. So everybody's just screwing around. We all went and had
Cool.
sandwiches.
Oh,
Like a bunch
fun.
and there were so many women comics from all over, like Brooklyn
Wow.
and Chicago. And I wish I could remember. I actually had a list of women's that I had written down, and
Yeah.
I left it at the house.
Ah.
But go to Orlando Indie Comedy Fest and look at the list, and it had a nice mix of humans.
Yeah.
Right. And it was super fun hanging out. And the three venues that I did. Like I landed at like 11:30. I
Yeah.
picked up a set at 1
Yeah.
a.m. that night. Yeah, like the guy picked me up at the airport and dropped me off at the hotel, and then I called the guy who booked me, New York comic named Nick Pulo, I believe is how you pronounce it. And then I was like, "Hey, are you guys doing anything?" For some reason, I'm awake. And
Oh,
he
that's
goes,
cool.
Well, if you want to come over to this place where you're doing a show the next night, you can hang out. And so I did, and he was like, "Do you want to go up?" And I was not dressed. I mean, not that I do get dressed for
Yeah.
it, but I bring it up a notch. And so but I picked up a set that night. It was great. It was Mark Norman was there.
Oh, cool.
And that guy Trey, the redneck liberal.
I don't know him. I don't think.
Liberal redneck. He does a
Okay.
bunch of videos. He's a comic out of I think Georgia or
Oh, yeah?
Alabama, and he's great. He's great. And I got
Wow.
to meet him, and he was a perfectly nice man.
Cool.
And he said he was coming to my long set the next night, and so I did the next night. But the reason I bring this up, besides how great that festival is,
Yeah.
is I had done so many long sets recently,
Yeah.
that I didn't write a set list.
Oh no, you got cocky.
Yeah.
Did you forget?
Yep.
Oh no.
Just kind of wandered around in my head for a second.
Oh man.
And then it turned out you ever get to like the point in your set where you're at 40 minutes and you're like, I haven't got the light, but I always ask for the light at 45 so
Yeah.
that I can do 50, right?
Yeah.
So
No, first of all, ask for the light at 35, do 8, and then go, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
well, and I get the light at 45 and then my last 2 bits are 5 minutes. So I was exactly where I thought I was.
Yeah. Oh, you
And
just forgot that?
I just completely forgot that that's where I was.
Oh, I did that in Akron at this club called Hilarities.
Yep.
Did you ever work at the club where you stayed in the you stayed inside the comedy club? It was there's like a back room that was
What?
yes.
Wow.
And it ended up burning down. There's the list of potential suspects is every stand-up comic in America. But like it used to be a strip club, so it had like a long runway that cut through the middle of the crowd, and that's kind of where you performed. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I had been living in New York doing 10-minute sets for like a year, but I'd been on the road for like 10 years before that, so I was like, I know my set, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't. And I
Right.
struggled.
Well,
it was
that's it.
mortifying.
It's mortifying. It's almost scary.
yes,
Right?
it's terrifying.
And it's you end up beating yourself up. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, you're like, oh, I've ruined my own flow.
yeah.
And you're like, that's not what anybody paid for.
Yeah,
and I don't know what they paid.
They don't pay. But you also, the time you spend going, am I going to remember the next joke? Or is time you're not even engaged in that joke you're telling right now.
Right.
So even that kind of worry
Feels
makes your
bad.
show a B+ instead of an A-,
Yep.
which is what I strive for.
Well, go for that A-.
One time, just that 1 a.m. show you reminded me of reminded me of when I think I was working at the Laughing Skull in Atlanta, and there was
Yeah.
some crazy late night show, and this guy that ended up being my boyfriend for about a year, but we met on Match.com. He lived in New York. We only Skyped.
Yeah.
And then we met for the first time in Atlanta when I was doing this gig.
Okay. Wow. That was the first time.
Yeah, we stayed together in a hotel. It was tumultuous. But that's not a good way to meet a guy. But he, I think he kind of was interested in stand-up a little bit. So I go, why don't you get up on stage with me? And because we're doing this, similar 1 a.m. show. No one gives
right.
a fuck.
Yeah, just
And
riffing.
it was interesting because he was funny off stage, but it was interesting to see somebody get off stage after that and have a whole new respect for stand-up comedy and what I
Right.
was doing.
Yeah.
it wasn't
yeah,
good.
because it turns out it's a learned skill.
Yes.
So and then I flew from Orlando to San Francisco.
Yeah.
To do this thing for CISO.
It's brutal. Was that a nonstop flight?
No, it was not.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. So I
Who
slept
paid for the flight? You or CISO
no,
or
it was CISO. Everybody's involved in this. Talk about watching something show up in Virgin America.
this crime has many masterminds.
Exactly. They're going to cut this thing up into 37-second chunks and sell it to Virgin Atlantic. So, but it's CISO, Rooftop, and Audible.
Oh my god.
So they paid for some of the flight, and Orlando paid for the rest of the flight.
Okay.
So I fly to Orlando. I'm there, and then I fly away. It was a 6 a.m. flight, so I get an hour and a half of sleep, and I fly from Orlando to LAX, where I have an hour layover. Very sad. So close to home.
Oh, that sucks.
So close to home.
Right.
And then I get on a plane and I fly to Oakland.
Yeah.
And then I just took a lift to the hotel.
Okay.
But this is so.
Did you stay in a Hilton?
No, I did not. I did not stay at Hilton. I stayed at that same hotel the Sketchfest people, because Sketchfest was involved as well.
Oh, the Tuscan?
Yeah.
Tuscany? Oh,
I
that's
think
a
so.
nice one. That's near the old Cobb's.
Yes, but
it's
the
really
restaurant
nice.
in that hotel, the worst restaurant. How is there a
There's
bad
an IHOP
Chinese?
down the street, man.
That's right. I
I'm
forget
in
who I'm
San
talking
Francisco.
to. I'm sorry.
Dude, there's besides Columbus and then Little Italy,
It's in Japantown.
right?
Is it? That's the name of the.
Oh no! Oh
I
no!
thought it
No,
was
no! I'm
called
thinking of a
Tuscan.
different thing.
You're thinking of a different.
Oh no! I'm
different
thinking
restaurant?
when near the old Cobb's, right near the wharf.
Oh No, it was not
okay.
close
I know
to
you're talking
the ferry
about that
building
one.
or anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not close to anything.
Yeah, well, and it's
Yeah.
who cares?
It's a
But it
mess.
was a mess. But when you said there's an IHOP, I was like, oh, I forgot who I was talking to, the culinary expert that is Lori Kilmartin. There was not a 7-Eleven, but it was. It was okay. So I land at like 2 by 3:30. I'm in my apartment. I'm in my hotel room, and I'd gotten a text asking if I wanted to do a set that night in San Francisco, and I was like, I do. I'm going to take a nap, and I might not wake up. So don't expect me unless I ping you. And she goes, yes, no problem. So I go to sleep at 4 p.m. I wake up the next morning at 5 a.m.
No.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
I
that
was
is
stiff.
so much sleep.
So much sleep. I was genuinely
That's
stiff.
wonderful.
It was
that
so great.
sounds like the best night of a lifetime.
It was so great. And then I looked at my watch. It was 5 o'clock. My call time for the CISO thing was 5 p.m. And so I was like, no, did I sleep for
Oh, my
24
God.
hours? I did not.
because a
I did
comic can.
not. A comic can. So someone,
a good comedian can sleep for an entire
yesterday I was
cycle.
playing D&D and we were talking. Somebody asked me, they said, so because Andy said that I like to get a good 12 hours a night. I
Yeah.
like to. It's nice for me.
Sure.
And so our buddy John was like, how do you get that kind of sleep on the road? And I was like, oh, it's easier on the road. There's no witnesses.
And there's less and less radio to do because it doesn't work. No one listens to the radio, right?
Yep, it's true.
Did you get the email from Gary Bynum?
I did get the email from Gary
Have
Bynum.
you responded?
I did not. Did you respond?
No, not yet. I thought we could formulate a united response
Okay.
where we're now, there's no hotel at the gig,
Yeah.
and we're all staying at Fort Hood, which is
Named after Gary Hood.
a great guy.
Great guy. Doesn't mean that I want to stay in his apartment.
He passed away.
He passed away. Pencil dork, by the way. It sounds pencil neck deep.
Oh, yeah.
He was going to be on the dork for us to
Oh,
explain
that's right,
his
yeah.
love of graphite.
Yeah.
And but it never happened, and I'm very sad about that. Actually.
Yeah.
So he sent in this email pictures of the condo,
hotel,
of the new condo.
Yes.
And
And
here's the thing.
it's as condo-y as you think it's going to be, and the bed sheets look stained already, right?
Well, here's the thing about condos. Remember, he didn't own it for a couple of years. Remember
Yeah.
that? For a decade, maybe.
No,
And-
I don't know about. I know about the house that we used to stay in.
Right, he had that house that was notorious throughout all of comedy as
Yeah.
being the worst.
Horrific, right?
Genuinely the worst.
Yeah, no privacy, sharing a bathroom.
All of it a
Yes.
disaster.
That's when a
And-
stripper used my toothbrush. Was at that house. Oh, the male comic
Brought
whose
the stripper
entire
back?
wife act was about his wife had brought a stripper back. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
You know, let's keep moving forward, shall we? In comedy.
So we're in a
Instead of-
so
yeah.
it's a condo now.
So now it's a condo, which is just an apartment. If you don't know,
Yeah.
it's an apartment that is rented by the club. Because
does he own it or does he rent it?
I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't know
it's
either.
it's going to be supposedly cheaper than $75 a night, 2 nights a
Not
week.
even in Tucson. It's not even cheaper. That's
Right.
like it's like $40 a night you could get. You
Right.
know?
My price line. I got the first time I worked for him. He's still at the house.
Yeah.
And hi Gary. I lied.
I love Gary.
I love Gary. Gary's nothing but
there's a couple club owners, and Gary's one of them, who you love even though they're pathologically cheap. You know?
what I love about Gary Bynum.
Yeah.
Is that he doesn't want to talk to anyone. That's genuine. He's just like, hey, how's it going? And you're like, good. He's like, you're gonna go do stand up, right? And I was like, yeah. And then we're
you
done.
never see him again.
And
yeah.
then there's a lit there.
Yeah.
The first like 2 or 3 times I worked it, was just chitter chat.
Yeah.
And now he's just like, you're great, because he
Yeah.
doesn't. I don't want to talk to him either. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to do stuff.
I know. No, and the room is great, and I
Yeah, the
love
room is great.
Tucson,
Yep.
and it's, you know, I'm sure he wouldn't consider it disparaging to be called cheap. I think that,
He's frugal. He's frugal.
Yes, right.
And he's just trying to keep the club going.
yeah.
He's trying to keep the club going.
Well,
So here's-
that's what every club owner in the history of time
Of
has
club
said.
owners has always
is
said.
they're trying to keep the club going.
just trying to keep the club going. But so
They're like the
first
Sean
time.
Spicer of professions. Like you're like, I can't believe you.
Don't compare him to Sean
Yeah.
Spicer.
No, just saying in general, comedy club
right,
owners,
as a
all of a
thing.
sudden crime, poverty.
Right, crying. And so, but I have, and then they have season tickets to the Packers. Hi, Skyline, I'm talking to you. Anyway, so but the crazy thing is so the first time I worked it, he was like, "Hey, we have this house," and I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, my brother lives there. I'm going to stay with him." I wouldn't stay with my brother if he paid me. My brother who lives in Tucson is
Yeah.
a social disaster.
Right.
So I just got a hotel, and the hotel was $35 a night because I price lined it.
Yeah.
And it was lovely. And so what I've decided is that if I go and because usually the first year of a condo, pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not like the Comedy Works, which makes sure. Did you see, like in the pictures, the bedroom had that gray industrial carpet?
Yeah.
That's easy to replace. So I would say if you're going to have a condo, replace the carpeting every 2 to 3 years.
Right.
Like a hotel does. Make sure all the sheets and pillowcases match. It gives you a sense
Of security.
that you are living in a place that
That
someone
you're not in a
gives-
flop house or
right. That I'm not
a
living
meth lab,
Right,
you know?
right. It's not just a hodgepodge of bullshit. Somebody gave a damn, and the rest of it looked like it was all either tile or hardwood. So that's helpful too.
Yeah.
If someone mops and sweeps every week,
Sure.
So it might be okay.
But anyway, is it a one room? Is it just the headliner staying there? Or do we have to stay with the feature?
oh, you know what? We might want to email him that.
Yeah.
Because I won't stay with anybody
No,
else.
I won't
No.
either.
No, I'm done. I'm done
I don't
staying
want to
with...
be done though. I love that room.
No, I don't. No, I'm done staying with other people.
Oh, yeah,
at
yeah,
at
yeah.
a condo. It's
And the other thing is, and you know, some comics are like, well, I'll never fucking work that room again. Don't get that cocky.
right.
You might be working that room.
You might
again.
be desperate to work that room
Yeah.
because you need $100 or whatever.
You
it
need
is,
the
right?
money, or you need to do the
stage
time.
time, yep.
Yeah, I mean, and I love that room, so I don't want to say no, fuck that. You know.
Yeah.
I already don't do it for the money. I already do
Right.
it
I
just
do
to
it
keep
'cause
my
I-
45-minute chops.
Right,
And,
and
it's a really close gig.
Yeah, it's a-
Tucson's not that far from Los Angeles.
Right, and you fly, right?
Sometimes I drive.
I
And
usually drive.
When I was driving back from Tucson, I did it fairly, within a couple of months of my dad dying. That's when I had the idea because
To do 40.
that woman was a second person that woman, the one that stormed out in my
Yeah.
special, that happened at Gary's Club.
Oh, okay.
And she's the one that she's the one that made me go, maybe I should just have a special and I name it this thing. So
right, so that nobody's surprised.
yeah, so the long drive, the 11-hour drive,
yeah, it's just
whatever.
it's 5.5 hours each way.
Yeah.
So it's nice. The thing is, when I used to do the road 35 weeks a year in Minnesota, and it was all driving,
Right.
I kind of liked it.
I loved it.
kinda loved
That's what
it.
I loved about triple runs. I loved the long drives. Your mind can wander.
Your mind can wander, and you come up with bits that aren't real and
Yeah.
that aren't viable. But those, there's nothing like doing. I don't know why I'm nostalgizing it now because you've done a 4-wall and a Best Western, right? There's
Yeah.
like some Best Western that has
Yeah.
a show,
Right. It's
and you're
Misty's
staying,
Lounge. It's always
Right.
Misty. That lady. That lady owns a lot of property.
right? And the comedy show is in the same room, is in the same building as the hotel. You're awesome, right?
Yeah.
So then you can get as hammered as you want. You can stumble upstairs
Yes.
and throw up. And
Now
fall over.
we're talking Jackie goals.
Now we're talking the mid '90s, you guys. Good times. And but then the next morning you have to get up because you have a 7.5, 8.5 hour drive
Right.
to the next one nighter.
Yeah.
which is also at a Best Western.
Yes.
And but that's the only thing you'd be like, oh, but there'd be some sort of like. You'd get some chops out of it too. You'd feel
Totally.
like you're really doing something,
And the other,
even though you aren't. Even though you're just being taken advantage of because someone has bad routing. So it's
but
so be it.
the open time, literally you're driving through open spaces and your brain becomes an open space.
Yeah.
You really need that to create. And I don't get that at all anymore.
Right.
Right.
There's too many
I
things.
never get that.
You never get that. Yeah.
And I
'cause you're
haven't in a long time,
Yeah.
I fucking want that.
Yeah.
And then once
if you can,
cut to
you
me
should always-
getting it going, I'm gonna be destitute.
Right. Where's the steady work?
I was
It's,
listening to do you listen to Tim Ferriss at all?
Nope.
He's
Who's that?
He's like a guy who tries things. And so he's one of those I think he made a lot of money being a angel investor, you know, like in
Right.
Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And so I think he's one of those wealthy guys who has the free time to just try concepts all day long and then write about them and talk about them. And so
Yeah.
he's one of those type of guys. And he has a podcast that's good. And Kara Swisher was on it. Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
She's like a tech writer.
Okay. I've
she-
heard of her.
She was like really cool to listen to.
Oh, neat.
She's she kept saying I did a great job at, you know, when she was describing her career, and it was like startling to hear, but you knew she was right. She's
Right.
like, I was at the Washington Post and I did a really great job on that series. I was like, wow, what?
Look who's owning her own.
Oh my God,
quality.
I loved
That
it.
is
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
You know?
Why not? Let's just start saying I did a great job at that.
Usually it's like, I wrote a piece and, you know, people seem to enjoy it. You know, that's as far as you go.
Right. People liked it, I think.
Yeah.
And I got some good.
It was kind of cool to hear, and she talked about how women are not that in particular. In fact, she said that so automatically. I feel like she wasn't even trying to it wasn't a teachable moment.
Right.
But she's just talking about in general, women are afraid of people not liking them. And I think I spent a lot of time, and you wouldn't know it from how I sound now, but afraid that people wouldn't like me.
Right.
Or
Just
afraid
trying
that
to make
men
sure that
wouldn't
people-
like me.
Well, I spent a fair amount of time making sure people liked me. You know,
Yeah.
just very much the golden retriever of
Yeah,
stand-up comedy.
yes, yeah,
Just
right.
barking, barking, barking. Like, what about now? What about this?
Yeah.
And, you know, and probably in the last 3 or 4 years, I've been like, just fuck it. I don't know
I
if I'm
know.
tired or if I'm certain.
Is it our age?
I don't know if
Is it our age or our generation? This is the age where we go fuck it. And our younger female comics, do they have that fuck it? Are they born with it, or they get it? Do they get it at a younger age, or are they going to follow the same emotional trajectory that we did?
You know, everyone says that things are different now for women comics.
Right.
2 weirdo things happen. One in Orlando, one in San Francisco.
Yeah.
In Orlando, this young woman from here, whose name I can't remember because it's on a piece of paper at my house, said she's from Los Angeles. She started doing stand-up when she was 17. The only place she knew to do open mic was the Comedy Store.
Wow.
So it was 5 years ago, right? So she's like 23 now, 22.
Right.
And she said, I'm 17. I'm at the Comedy Store hanging out, doing open mics. And all I'm getting, and 5 years ago was before even
Super
the,
dude heavy. It's very dude heavy now.
still, but it was like before the gentrification of
that was
Comedy
when-
Store started.
Yeah, Tommy was running it.
Yeah,
Ugh.
and Tommy was running it, and it was just brutal. And
Right.
so she said that she would get up. She was like, I was so young that I thought to myself, and it completely echoed how I felt because I started doing stand up when I was 19.
Yeah.
hanging out with just dudes who were
Right.
from the Comedy Store because they were all Kinnison's friends.
Yeah.
and she said, so I thought this is what men were like. All the men at the Comedy Store, I was like, oh, this is
right.
what guys are like, and this is how
Right.
they treat women, and this is how I'm
Yeah.
supposed to interact with them. And second of all, she said, I would get off stage, and if a guy didn't say, look like your pussy was real tight up there, I'd be like, oh, he didn't like my set. And I was
Wow.
like, Jesus Christ. And I was like, can we go back in time and punch somebody in the throat?
First
and she
of
was like,
all-
how many? How many people did you want to punch in the throat?
Listen, I've had a baby. I would love it if a guy comic would send me my pussy looked tight up there. Feel
Pussy
free.
looks so tight up there.
Thank you.
It's like so gross. And you're like, why is that? And so she said, I eventually, and I said, what about your parents? And she goes, I know my parents didn't have any idea what I was going through
Wow.
every Tuesday or whatever night their open mics were, Monday. And she said, but I was like, well, there's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to go.
Wow.
And she was 17. She didn't know anywhere else
Yeah, yeah.
until you meet enough comics that someone says, oh, I also do this open mic over at this stupid coffee
yeah.
shop.
If there are any 17-year-olds listening, go to thecomedybureau.com.
Yes.
Jake
and there's
Kroger puts it all together every
and guess what
single
Jake Kroger
week.
is? A perfectly nice adult man. Yeah, a perfectly good dude. A perfectly good dude who's not going to say anything creepy.
I don't
to
even
you.
want to drag him into that conversation.
Fair enough.
Guy
So-
doing good things.
Right, so that happened with the when this woman was 17, and then
Mm-hmm.
the second thing happened in Orlando. I mean, at Sketchfest, I was sitting around with a bunch of comics. Some people are doing the CISO thing I'm doing. Some comics have already done it.
Yeah.
Some are doing the next one, and this guy who I know I've met before, but of course I can't remember who the fuck he is.
Yeah.
Is talking to me, and he said, "It's so weird. Women are always talking about how hard it is to get on staff. The only writers I know are women. The only staff writers I know are women. And I was like, who are you thinking of? And I was like, I can think of two.
Right.
I mean, I can think, I can think of a 5 or 6, but I can think of at least a dozen dudes.
Well, let me offer this thought that a lot of the male staff writers are writing in their own voice because it correlates with who they're writing for, and most female staff writers aren't. You know what I mean?
Right, because they have to figure out a way to write in a
you're
male
writing
voice.
in a male voice.
Yeah.
And that's, it's different from your voice, So I would say a lot of female staff writers that are also comics still have an unscratched itch, I guess, and need to get up on stage to talk about stuff that they can't really talk about at work. You know what I
think
mean?
that's true, but that wasn't what he was talking about. He was talking about how most of the people making a living as writers were women.
Well, that's just insane. Unless
That's
he hasn't
inaccurate.
met anyone.
Right.
Has
Unless he looked like
did
he was
he-
about
was-
our age.
Just out of the house that day?
Right. I don't think he gets out a lot. And I was like, who are you thinking of? And he goes, Morgan Murphy. And I was like, well, that's one person.
Yeah.
That is one woman. Why don't you also say you and Karen Kilgariff and
Yeah, but even
Laura
then,
House
it's
and-
the ratio is
still
but I'm
insane.
saying like he might not. A lot of the guy, maybe a lot
maybe
of
he's not
male
meeting-
comics are just sort of
Trying to
not
get
doing
in.
stand up as much anymore because
Yeah, okay.
what they're
see.
writing during the day kind of satisfies that creative itch that gets you on stage. And I think female comedy writers, at the end of the day, you're still like, I'm still pissed about this other shit.
I still have to get up. I still have to get up.
Yeah.
Because I'm not. All of it has not
Just
been
a
bled
theory.
off.
I don't know.
That is a hell of a theory. I love that theory.
But yeah.
Are we at? Should we do
Yeah.
the comic of the
Jesus,
week?
How much time have we done?
5-0?
What?
5-0.
Holy shit! We have not done the comic of the week, who we both worked with,
Yes.
Amanda Seals.
Uh-huh.
Amanda Seals. We worked with her at Nerd Melt, and
Yes.
it's at Amanda Seals, and it's SEALES.
In fact, we both avoided talking to each other to watch Amanda, which helped save this podcast today.
Right, we got to 50 minutes before we even asked, "Where are we at? Where are we at?"
Yeah, she was very funny. And I think I hadn't seen her before. I think I knew who she was, but I hadn't.
Yeah, I had not
hadn't
seen.
seen her
I'd
set
heard of her,
before.
but I had not seen her set. So,
Yeah.
I was going to say that I missed the light on the CISO thing. I was supposed to do 12 minutes.
Yeah.
and I had written a set list for that because it was after Orlando.
Yeah.
and it was a TV set, so I thought,
Yeah.
what the heck? Let's
Yeah.
write a set list. So I wrote the 12 minutes, and they didn't even ask me what it was. That's one of the greatest. That's a sign of a TV show that is like, yeah, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You're a professional. You get it.
That's a streaming. That's
And
the
that's also a
advantage
streaming
streaming
thing.
has over
Right.
network for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't talk about Amanda enough.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't. It's weird. Some of our comics we know really well, and some of them we don't know that well.
Right.
So
All I know is I liked what I saw.
Yes,
I liked
me
her
too.
stand up. I liked her.
Yeah, and I liked her
point of view.
backstage. She was very nice.
And super nice woman.
Yes.
And so, yeah, go find Amanda Seals.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, so I wanted to talk about this. This happened when we had taped like 3 in a row, and then we didn't see each other for a while. One of our comics of the week, Heather Snow,
Yeah.
passed away.
Yeah.
She died on December 31st. She had cancer for at least a year.
Yeah.
And
Isn't it leukemia?
yeah, she had leukemia, and she was 37.
Yeah. I saw
so-
her in September.
You did?
Yeah, because
Oh,
I
that's
did.
right.
I did
You
Denver
were-
with Maria.
Was she out?
Yeah, she came to the show. With her boyfriend, and then we hung out a little bit in the green room after.
Wow.
Super. Just she was like, "I'm looking forward to doing sets again." It was all looking kind of
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
and then yeah. So Heather Snow, you guys, 6 feet of snow.
It's the thing, like people were donating money to us, which I thought was really cool.
Oh right, I owe you $35.50.
Okay.
$32.50.
All right.
You're never seeing that 50 cents.
But and that's really cool. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully what I think you and I are doing this podcast for is we're trying to promote our work.
Yeah.
So, while it's really sweet to donate cash, what I think you and I would both love is for people
Cash.
to
Oh,
watch
I'm sorry.
our
What have you gone mad?
to watch our stuff.
Yes,
You have a
please do.
special on Comedy Film Nerds.
On Comedy Film Nerds. Feel free to buy that. It's
Yes.
$10.
Yeah.
That's like donating. You
Yes.
could buy this.
That's
will make an
the
excellent
kind of
Horcrux.
donation we want. The donation I want won't cost you anything.
Right. Go to
You
CISO.
Go to CISO. Use my last name. You can watch my special for free. We want an
Yep.
hour of your time.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
the kind of donation we want. Or you could. We both have CDs on iTunes.
Yep.
Like that's how you could really support us. Or if you have our like punch us in at Pandora and try to bring us up or something.
Or
you know?
request us at your local club.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, just email your local hilarities.
Yeah.
And say, hey, when are you going to have Lori Kilmartin come? Or
down
Jackie Cation? Or
Walk down that strip club ramp.
Exactly.
And the thing is, so Heather Snow is no longer here, but she did stuff that's online. She has stuff
Right.
on YouTube. I
Right,
did
right.
stand up in stilettos with her, and she was really funny. And I think a really cool thing, if you have time today to honor Heather Snow, is to do what we're all doing. We're all trying to be immortal for a little bit. We're all trying to live on. We all want our work to be seen even after we're not here.
and you can still enjoy Heather Snow.
and check out Heather Snow's stand up.
yeah, why not?
know?
Yeah, that'd be.
Man, we should have ended on that.
I have. What was I gonna? So in Orlando, most of the people in the audience at the Orlando Comedy Festival,
Yeah.
it was probably a third normal people and 2/3 comics.
Oh my God.
no! Very flattering.
No.
Super flattering.
Oh no.
As,
No one's laughing. They're all writing down notes for you.
They're leaning in, going, "I see what she's doing,"
Oh no.
and it was super flattering. And I got laughs, and it all went well. But it felt weird.
Those aren't laughs you can trust. You can't trust when comics laugh.
Well, no, they only laughed at sort of the shock jockey stuff I do.
Okay.
And then a couple of jokes that we had talked about on this thing where they're
Yeah.
like, "Yes, finally."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Okay, I see." And they're like, "Oh, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing is the comic equivalent of no, I really like you, but I'm not living in the moment." I wish they were living more in the moment.
Yeah, and when people do that on Twitter, that's I almost I went on a tear once because someone said I see what you did there,
Oh, right.
and
Which
you know
becomes
what?
hacky and
you can deconstruct everything. You
Yeah.
can see what everyone did there. You can see where Picasso painted. You can see a brushstroke.
Yeah, you can see a brushstroke.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
that doesn't make you an
Congratulations.
artist. What?
Fucking dissected a frog. Good for you. Did you watch that Louis thing? Somebody,
CK?
I think it's Splitsider. They took a Louis joke and they
Oh no, you sent that to me.
they annotated
I also
it.
didn't watch the Kellyanne thing.
Okay, we'll get to that in a sec. And then they told they kind of broke down what he was doing in the joke and
Yeah.
why that word was there and all that.
That looked so irritating to
It was
me.
so irritating.
I cannot express to you.
I mean, it made my skin crawl to think that someone could take me just, fucking around on stage and then go, and that's why she put this here. No,
It's a
I fucking changed it
metaphor.
around the next time.
For the first
In fact, now that joke's completely different. So what's that do to your annotation?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, your class
Oh my
didn't
God.
work out.
But it was also interesting. It was interesting.
Sure.
You know what?
But don't record it. Just have a conversation with your friends. You're like, remember that bit? I love what he does here.
You
And I love
kidding?
what he...
You know how well it did? I'm sure it got a ton of hits.
Right, because it's Louis C.K.
Yeah, and it's comedy
B,
nerds.
And comedy nerds like to have someone
But
dissect
it's fun.
it.
Like, even though you can dissect, you can split it apart, and you can see how this joke worked and you understand it. It doesn't mean you're going to figure it out the next time somebody tells a joke.
Right.
You're not. You're still going to just sit there and laugh when
Yeah.
you hear a good joke. But
I hope.
it is odd because we're sort of the magicians, if you will, and to have people to
Is
know that
this your
people
card?
are out there, sort of kind of deconstructing as we go along, is
Yeah.
a little disconcerting.
Yeah, it feels...
It was an odd thing as a comic. It was odd to watch. It didn't feel good.
Did you watch whatever Kellyanne
I
open
watched a
mic
couple
thing?
minutes
Yeah.
and I wanted to slap her.
Was she just new?
No. It was one of those contests. It's a bringer show. The funniest blank, like the funniest lawyer, the funniest whatever her
The funniest
fucking
mouth of
fake made up
Sauron.
job is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the funniest whatever in DC. So or it might have been the funniest professionals or something. But so she was bad, But they are usually bad. I wonder who
Right.
the pro comic was on that show.
Right. Like
'Cause
we
it's-
do
they
that
always have,
virgin
like, one-
sacrifice thing that you've done that down in
Yeah.
Santa Monica.
But that person is usually someone who wants to be a comic or
Right.
wants to try it.
And has been working with somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
try
yeah,
to put together at least a set.
Yeah, but
So Kellyanne didn't.
I used
she
to
was just
I used
messing
to
around.
be like the pro comic on those shows at Gotham all the time when
Yeah.
Gotham was on 22nd and yeah.
Yeah. Boo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't approve. Yeah. Oh, I should tell you, I was on a podcast.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you I was on Caitlin Durante. Who,
Oh, yeah.
Who booked the Nerd Melt thing we did.
Yeah.
And then with Jamie Loftus.
Okay.
And they have a podcast called the Bechtel Cast.
I've been meaning to listen to it.
Haven't you?
I have.
And- oh, really?
Yes.
Oh my God!
Because I
haven't
interested
been
in
meaning
that
to listen to
topic.
anything. No, it's an interesting
Not,
thing. 'cause
not everyone's dead inside like you, Jackie.
It's so true. But the crazy thing is so we had to watch Groundhog Day,
Yeah.
and then look for the if it passed the Bechdel test.
Yeah, and what the test exactly is women have
Any two women in a movie having a conversation that is not about a man.
right. That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
Wow.
And almost no movies pass it.
Wow.
And I bet you Hidden Figures does. But I wish that they would do an addendum. They also cannot be talking about food or clothing.
Yes.
That'd be
Yes.
nice as well. But
Yeah.
so the lamest is that there is a conversation between Andy McDowell in Groundhog Day and
Yeah.
the waitress at the Tip Top, and they talk about pastries. That's it. It passes. It passes the
Wow.
Bechdel test because they have. But the waitress the whole time is staring longingly at Bill Murray. So does that count?
Oh, God.
Which of course is its own
Yeah.
mystery. But Bill Murray's never been my downfall.
Sexy.
Okay, if you think so. No, he's not for me.
Okay.
Of all of those guys, I never had a crush on any of them. Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi.
I don't like Chevy Chase.
John Belushi had the best chance with me because he seemed the funniest.
Yeah.
And if I was going to have a crush on a weird looking dude, it was going to be because he was the funniest.
Isn't it weird? Like last night I was at I was doing Tammy's show at the Belly Room, and
Yeah.
so I like. Here's what I like to do now that if when I'm at the Comedy Store is park right here at Meltdown and then walk to the store. It's like
Half a mile.
half a mile.
Yeah.
Walk past to the Laugh Factory, get bitter, and then and then walk up to the store. But I always pass the Chateau Marmont where he died. It's so strange that people go and party there, and it's like, wow, this is a
doesn't have-
landmark. It's a death landmark.
It's a death landmark with no parking as well.
Yes, you might as well park at Meltdown.
Jackie Cation will not be dying at Chateau Marmont because there's no parking. It's the same reason I don't do the Laugh Factory. So
Who knows why I don't do the Laugh Factory?
I think we're done.
I think we are too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Now leaving Nerdist.com.